Hola and buenas noches. Hello and good evening. My name is Lisa, and for my program models for ELLs project and paper, I chose the Westland Wilsonville School District because that's the district that I went to school in for K through 12, and also I plan on observing and student teaching there later in my MAT program. So as of October 2012, in the Westland Wilsonville School District, according to their LAU plan, which they call the Local Plan of Service for English Language Learners, the total number of students was 8,687, 259 of which identified as English language learners, which is approximately 3% of the total population. On the district's annual report card done by the Oregon Department of Education for 2011 to 2012, which is the most recent report card that was done, the student group called Limited English Proficient, or LEP, did not meet the statewide assessment standards in English and language arts by 65.9%. Mathematics they did not meet by 61.8%, and in science they didn't meet by 77.5%. So out of 13 other categories, such as male, female, students with disabilities, the LEP scores were the highest not met percentages out of all of the other groups, which is pretty saddening. The types of ELL programs, methods offered, claimed to be offered in the document was sheltered instruction, as we've discussed in class. Also, there's some English language development through ESL pullout in grades K through 5 specifically, where ESL specialists will pull out individuals or small groups of students to work with them, pulling them out from their general education classroom. And then also ESL class period for grades 6 through 12, where the ELL students might have a specific period during their day that they work with an ESL instructor. One primary school in the district, however, Lowry Primary, which is pretty new, it's been open for about 2 or 3 years, offers a two-way dual language immersion program, which follows the 50-50 model. So native English students are working collaboratively with the ELL students and receive instruction equally in both English and in Spanish. And also, there's a world language program that's briefly mentioned where ELLs are supposed to be able to showcase their proficiency in their first language, working with native English speakers who are learning the ELL's first language as a second language. So that's kind of interesting, but it wasn't very well developed in the plan, so I would have liked to learn more about that. As we've discussed from the right text on sheltered instruction, the main goal is to provide ELL students with grade level content area instruction that is in English, but in such a way that is understandable or comprehensible to them, all the while promoting English language development skills. The primary grades, K through 5, use guided language acquisition design, or GLAD, while the secondary grades 6 through 12 use sheltered instruction observation protocol, or SIOP. One thing that did kind of bother me, besides the world language program that was briefly mentioned in the one two-way dual language immersion program at the one primary school, was that there's not a lot of focus put on the ELLs fostering their native language skills, and so I would have liked to see a little bit more of that. They do mention, however, multiple times the following statement. Each child will experience a welcoming learning environment with time and value for his or her home language, family, and culture in the school setting. But there's not really explicit explanation in their local plan of service how this happens within their schools. It does urge parents to read at home with their students in their native language, and also claims that they attempt to read with ELLs in their native language while at school. As far as ELL teacher qualifications, they must be ESOL endorsed. They also prefer for the ESL teachers to be bilingual in both English and in Spanish. And of course, like teachers in general, they should continue to participate in classes and workshops and other professional development activities that are funded by the district. So as far as the process, of working and supporting ELLs, the identification part. So there's a home language survey that is sent out to the students' homes to determine potential ELLs. From there, they take the potential ELLs and assess them using the Woodcock-Munoz Language Survey Revised, WMLSR, and a score of 1 to 3 on that survey will identify the ELLs that are qualified to receive services through the district, and if they score a 4 or above, they do not require the services. Once identified, they're placed by the English Language Development Team, which is ESL staff that's chosen by the principal in each school. And then the ELD team sends their recommendation to the parents in the form of written letters that are translated into the language that is most understandable to them. The families are also asked to identify a family friend or acquaintance that can help translate throughout the process of their student being in the program. Throughout the program, students are reassessed annually using the English Language Proficiency Assessment, or ELPA, but it's not really clear in the plan how students move from one level to the next depending on their score on the ELPA. So I'm assuming that if students receive a higher score on the ELPA than they did in previous year, they move on in their program. And then if they get a similar or lower score than the previous year, then they don't move on. The redesignation exiting process. So once students score an advanced level 5 on their ELPA, and they're tested in listening, speaking, reading, and writing in English, then they qualify to exit the program. However, there are some rare scenarios where students that score a level 5, the English language development team might suggest that they continue on in the program despite that score, or conversely, students that score an early advanced level 4 might be promoted based on their skills by the ELD team to be able to exit the program early. Once they exit the program, they're monitored by the English language development team 1 to 3 times per year for a period of 2 years, and they're reassessed using the WMLSR. If academic achievement is insufficient since exiting the program, students may be placed back in the ELL program appropriately. So for the most part, the Westland-Wilsonville School District has put some sound methodology into place in theory. However, I'm kind of concerned regarding the actual implementation and the evaluation following the Castaneda standards. I think because the English language learners in the district represent such a small portion of the total population, about 3%, they're not receiving adequate instruction as claimed in the document. But just because, of course, they're a small group doesn't mean that they're any less important than another group. Also, the evaluation part of the Castaneda standards are not really mentioned in the document at all, so I would like to see more of that. It's one thing to have the district's score report show that there's not very good results on the tests of the LEP category, LEP students, but it's one thing to see those results and then to do something about it and fix it and make it beneficial for those students. I would like to see more dual language programs like the one at Lowry Primary School to foster the development of the ELL's native language and make those cross-cultural connections between native English speakers and ELLs. I will be observing and student teaching in the Westland-Wilsonville School District for my MAT program and look forward to witnessing firsthand, hopefully, the implementation of these ELL programs discussed in the plan and possibly even get involved in their implementation.